NBA Live 18 gameplay videos from EA Play. They came out this week. The YouTubers and other personalities that attended the event in Los Angeles at EA Play 2017, the EA's equivalent to E3, I guess, or their alternative to E3 now. A lot of them had hands-on time. They'd already given some impressions, but they'd also been recording videos at the event, or EA had been recording videos on their behalf, and they provided them with the videos, Ben, and they've come through, and a lot of people seem to be pretty pleased with what they see. Not with everything they see, but again, the feeling is a lot more positive than it has been in recent years, by a mile.
Oh yeah, managed to watch quite a few of the videos. Was up very late when they started posting them to try and post as many as I could and watch as many as I could. There's still a few more I got to catch up on, but yeah, the general consensus is that the game feels really good. It feels really fun. The controls feel intuitive, and that that they're responsive in that. And there's some really cool wow moments that you'll have playing it, and yeah, so.
It was definitely good news to hear. Everyone, as you said, seemed to be saying there was taking a step in the right direction, or several steps in the right direction. That it was very fun, and I think that's the thing that really stands out to me, because I did see some animations that I would agree that some of the jump shots did still look a bit stiff and jerky. Others look really smooth and really nice, though. It was just some that sort of the animation speed perhaps didn't match up. The passes, I like the crispness of the passes, and you know how many times I've complained about some of the floaty passes in 2K Pro-Am in 2K17. So
oh yeah.
Anytime I see a nice crisp pass, I hope they don't tweak that too much in Live 18, because they're looking pretty, rocket passes, not unreasonably fast, but certainly more crisp than before. And I really hate those floaty helium passes, which we've seen in Live in the past as well. So
yeah, Live 10 after patch 2 with alley oops.
Oh, definitely, definitely. Oh, yeah, the alley oops in Live 10. Yeah, I'd forgotten about that. That was something.
You'd float like, well, aside from it going to the absolutely wrong person, the person would have float like Mr. Burns. Like
it was very much playing basketball on the moon. So I guess that's the new feature that they're going to, the new Live Pro-Am arena on the moon. So
well, they did it before 2K's
underwater court, yes. Why not? 0G basketball, absolutely. So I did see some animations that I wasn't as fond of. I saw a lot of ones that did look a lot smoother and nicer. But the thing that struck me was that even if some of the things didn't look as great as we'd like them to be, or as polished, everyone was saying how fun it was to play. So if it feels good in your hands and looks pretty good, then that's a huge improvement on what we've had in Live 14 to 16. I had some fun moments with those games, and there was improvement here and there, but there's obviously significant improvement in the animations, and for it to feel much better on the sticks, it's very encouraging, because look, even if it doesn't make for the best videos, I guess, as long as it's fun to play and enjoyable to play, and that the experience is, well, enjoyable, that is the main thing at the end of the day. I mean, who cares if some of the animations... Well, obviously, you do want the animations to look as good as they possibly can, but if there are some animations here and there that look herky-jerky, but the experience is still fun, then you're still getting something out of the game, and that's the main thing, and everything we heard was pretty encouraging.
Yeah, and, depending on what stage the build was for the E3 demo.
Yes.
How do we know how finalized all the animations are in that sense? Are they still editing, or are they still tweaking some, like putting some in, taking some out, sort of thing? So, there's always a chance that, some of those still sort of questionable animations and that are still, either getting polished or removed or replaced and stuff like that. So, there's still that window of opportunity for that to happen and that. So.
Sure. And that may sound like we're making excuses, but if you look at the videos that have come out so far, it does seem that we've seen at least a couple of different builds, because we've seen better animations in the newer videos than the first glimpse, the first reveal. So it's obviously they are still doing some work and perhaps polishing animations, adding some new ones, and getting some of them to work properly and in the right context. So, yeah, we could see some further improvement by the time the game comes out. I remember when I went over in... When was it? Late July 2015 for NBA Live 16, and a couple of the builds we played on the first couple of days didn't really sort of have some of the blocking on layups and dunks, and they said, "Well, this is what we're working with. That you're going to." Actually, Sean O'Brien took us into his office, and he, I forget who the other developer was at the time. It might have been Connor Dugan, but showed us this build of Live 16 that we were going to play tomorrow. That had the blocks for the dunks, and we were like, "Wow, okay, yes, that's going to look really good. that's going to play a lot better now." And it was, and indeed, the build we played on that third day was superior because of those animations that they were still adding as late as July. Or they're still trying to work in properly. I guess they've already mocapped them. They're just polishing them up or whatever. So you're absolutely right. You do see that. So hopefully we do see some further improvement. But even if the animations are taking a big step this year and they're going to take a big step next year, what we're seeing is still a great improvement. And again, the feel of the game, everything we heard was pretty positive.
Yeah, the didn't seem any the thing that you really listened to, or if you heard, is that it felt fun and it was enjoyable. And then again, how long has it been since we've really heard that sort of sentiment about Live? And even things that were said weeks ago, like when we first started to get a couple of little clips, and people's responses and all that stuff. So when we started first getting a little bit of information and responses from videos, that seems to be the consensus and the general reaction. So that for me is fantastic in that it's not just one or two people saying it. It's pretty much everyone that's been from what I've seen, and that
it's been ultimately positive. There's been criticisms, fairly so, because it's not. I'm sure that there's still room for improvement, and not just from what we see as games, but I'm sure EA, the dev team, feels that way themselves as well. But everyone, and it's, as you said, and it's not just people you could call Live fanboys. These are people who have a good reputation for analyzing basketball video games and not sugarcoating, not sucking up to EA or anything like that, or 2K for that matter. Not fanboys, actual people who know their stuff and are willing to call it as it is. And they're ultimately positive and saying that if at the very least it's going in the right direction and there's some good stuff in there. So it is very pleasing to hear. I guess the only thing that disappointed me about some of the footage was it was mostly highlights, which were fun, but you don't sort of see a lot of defense. I mean, there were some blocked shots. There were a couple of contact layups that missed, which was nice to see. I can't remember seeing any steals. I think it was mostly just blocks. And
no, there was a couple of steals.
Couple of steals?
There was a couple led to fast breaks and stuff like that. So, but yeah, I mean, they were compressing down video to send to each individual YouTuber.
Indeed.
So yeah, obviously they're going to be sort of very picky and brief in terms of which ones they show and that. So and in terms of how long they make each little sort of segment in play. So
sure.
So that given that that's what happened, you can understand it why they were so short and very highlight orientated in terms of things for what the guys did.
But
so
there was still a bit of raw gameplay in that respect, and we saw a bit of play on both sides of the ball. It's like Kenny brought up a couple of weeks ago, and we all talked about it then. The highlights tend to be skewed towards offense. And I guess that reflects our attitude towards real basketball as well. Offense is much more glamorous than defense. Traditionally speaking, of course, many of us do like to see great defense as well, but offense tends to make the highlight reels. One thing that should be noted is that the games are being played on pro difficulty level, which it gives you a good look at sort of what the game can do and some of the good moves and the cool stuff you can pull off. I imagine some of us, or most of us, will be playing on higher difficulty levels. But something they did mention was that it'll take a little bit of getting used to the dribbling controls and being able to break ankles. But we did see a very nice broken ankle animation with the defender stumbling in the Drew League there.
And I saw a few circumstances in that, and the defender gets thrown off balance. The video that K-Spade released did a really good breakdown in terms of the. So if you haven't had a chance to look at the K-Spade one,
I'll double check to make sure I posted that one in the forum. Or did you post that one in the forum? Or
I know I retweeted, but I don't think I got to post it in the forum. I think I was just trying to keep up with the videos and given how late it was in the morning, like 3:30 in the morning.
3:30 in the morning when I did the bulletin, Australian
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, well, actually, yeah, it would have been about 3:34. Yeah, I was working till 4 a.m. just
yeah,
trying to keep up with it all. So
it was pretty early because they dropped around noon American Eastern time. So I posted about 10 videos and links to the videos on in the bulletin on the main page and also in the forum thread. So I'll go back and check because I think there's a couple more that came out that I haven't added.
yeah,
I think I haven't added Tico's yet either, so I'll double check that. But
I know I posted an interview, like a couple of interviews that Shopbid did, and Shopmaster and well, I can't remember their full name, like it's like Illuminati Gaming, Illuminati Gaming or something like that. You know, they did one interview and stuff like that.
I saw you posted that one in the forum. I got to catch up on a couple of them. But there's some great breakdowns of how the one works as well, like with the traits and how they can be swapped in and out, as we were talking about last week, and showing some of the footage from the live Pro-Am games and the Drew League as well. And again, some very nice dunks, some very nice animations. There are some that still look like they need a bit of work, but encouraging stuff all around, and some really good breakdowns of what the one is going to entail. And,
I think for me, really, the sort of, I don't want to say negative, but one thing I'm hoping does sort of get fixed is with a lot of those shots that you saw, the ball pretty much was like when the jump shots and stuff are made were pretty much not all like 90% swish. You know, you didn't see many like hit the bank off the backboard then go in, or clip too much or hit too much from the rim. So I'm hoping there's some tweaking there. And I think that was my only real sort of like, I was like, oh, I hope that sort of, you know, it's not all like swish money type games and it's just balls just going to go that kind of automatic. So
yeah, you can see some bank shots and ones that bounce around a little bit and rattle in or whatever. Absolutely. Speaking of the shooting, we also saw the new shot meter in action. It's very similar to last year's in the way that it appears above the player, but it seems that they've gone kind of a similar approach to 2K as far as having the green releases, although they're not guaranteed to go in as 2K17 is, allegedly, because Kenny, as Kenny has noted, he has missed 2 free throws with Anthony Davis with a green release, which was quite Anthony Davis possibly. I have to double check that with him when he's on the show next. And of course, well, if you're behind the backboard in 2K17 and shoot a green release, it's going to hit the backboard and not make it, or if you get blocked. But they're kind of taking a similar approach in Live 18, a bit of a mix between what they did in Live 16 and sort of what 2K does as well, I noticed.
Yeah, I kind of sort of, I think in one of Shop's videos, he noticed that there's like a secondary shot meter under the feed as well. So I think there might still be sort of seeing which option works, you know, for, you know, obviously for different users and all that stuff. So
isn't one kind of like a shot quality and one's a release quality? Like the one that you see above the player is the release timing, and the one underneath is kind of the like how open you are. I thought that's what I might have heard. Might have to double check myself on that.
I might need to go back on the video as well. I just remember Shop pointing out that there was one under the feet, and again,
because there was last year as well. Because there is both the how open you are and how good your release is. So I think that's what it is, which is a pretty good way of doing it actually.
Yeah.
I know not everyone's a fan. I think it was Shakedown wasn't a huge fan of the way the meter was positioned above the player. I guess I got used to the idea in Live 16, so I don't mind it. Is interesting about the feedback and everything that they have gone for that green release. It's one of those things I'll have to try it for myself to see how much I like it. Again, because they're playing on pro difficulty and showing highlights, you saw shot after shot going in. So I mean, it's hard to determine how well or how cheesy it's going to be until you sort of get your hands on the game. The demo is dropping in August, of course. But again, because the videos were highlighting shots being made and highlights and everything and cool plays, I guess it's not really a great, and on pro difficulty as well, it's not a great indicator of percentages and realism in that respect.
Yeah. So, it'll be interesting to see how it all turns out in the final product.
So it continues to be encouraging news for Live 18. I think the only thing that we haven't really been encouraged by so far is the hints that roster editing might not be in the game again. But again, it's something that they're working on, as we understand it. If they can make it in there, or as we said before, if we get there as post-release content, perhaps, would be fantastic. I do hope that Dynasty, or Franchise Mode, or whatever it ends up being called, does get a bit of attention, or has had a bit of attention, and can bring back some of the staples that it's been missing in the last few games. The one looks pretty solid, so yeah, everything so far has been pleasing, and after all the struggles that the live series has had, that the fact that we're still having that positive response from people playing it and people feeling excited about the game, it's going to take a while for it to get back to the sales from 2K and everything, but it could make a pretty strong comeback this year, and certainly I think we're all hoping for that.
Yeah, I think there's a good chance it could, people will get interested in it again, and even check it out and stuff like that. So, yeah, I'm pretty confident that's what will happen with it.
Having the demo is obviously a great idea for that.
Yeah.
And the fact that the progress will continue over to Live 18, the full version, that's sensible as well. So that if you really get into it and say, oh yeah, I love the one, and I would like to see more of Franchise Mode and Live Pro-Am and everything else, and Ultimate Team, of course, then and you're loving the gameplay and the feel of it, then yeah, you say, well, yes, I will unlock. I'll pay the extra money. Not the extra money. The demo is going to be free. I will pay the money and unlock the full version and go ahead with that. So, it's funny. Demos are kind of in some respect, an antiquated thing these days. We used to remember. We'd be staying up late, obviously being in Australia, trying to get the demo and start downloading the demo as soon as it came out back in the day.
Yeah.
2K's demos were always a bit disappointing. They never really showed off the game in a really great light, and then compared to what the final game was. 2K's demos were always a bit disappointing. Live demos, we were happy to have them back in the day. So it's kind of old school, but I do like it, and I think it's a smart approach, especially as they try and win back the crowd.
Yeah, and I remember Live's demos always having a little bit more content in terms of things, and usually 2K's demos were like 2-minute quarters and stuff with no real audio to it and all that. So
yeah,
that's what I remember most. In most cases of their demos and that. So obviously not probably the last couple on that when they did it, but yeah, the ones from years ago. That's how they were. So
I remember
you didn't get too much of a taste of what the game was like in that sense.
No, and I remember trying to install the NBA Live 98 demo on a 486 with no dedicated video card, and surprise, that did not run properly. It did not run very well at all. But demo is obviously great to see. We're getting some more good news, so yeah, fingers crossed the good news keeps coming throughout the previous season, and that we don't have to wait for the too long for in between getting information, and that obviously when 2K starts releasing their information, that we've got an exciting previous season, unlike last year where we sat around wondering where the hell all the news was, because that was not fun for at least 2 or 3 months up until August, I guess, mid-August maybe, when it all started to come through.
I think it was really like 2 weeks before the demo or the prelude came out, wasn't it?
Pretty much, yeah.
And then even when the full game released, we still didn't have a lot of details, and it wasn't until we actually got our hands on the game that we found out some of the things that we were hoping, or some of the things that were communicated weren't actually there.
We were actually still getting some developer blogs after the release of the game last year with 2K17, so hopefully they continue, that they push up the information bit this year, and that Live continues to push through information consistently as well. And of course, we'll stay on top of that. We'll be talking about it on the podcast, in articles, etc., and in the forum. So, as always, let us know your thoughts in the comments sections of articles and bulletins on the site, the podcast, of course, and of course in the forum. Get involved in all of the discussion.